We're done letting mistakes hold us back. What's our talk to ourselves when we make a mistake? And that's important because how we operate in pressure, in failure, in setback, in uncertainty. You can't be expansive in your thinking if you're terrified of making a mistake. If you flog yourself every time you make a mistake, if it confirms to you what an idiot you are, we have to address our identity in order to live this alive, expansive life. When I make a mistake, I did something bad. What typically comes next for me is I am bad. Are you someone that beats themselves up? Especially when you make a mistake. When we treat mistakes as evidence and confirmation of our shame, we're never going to put ourselves in places where we could make mistakes. And that is the place you have to exist when you are living an awake, alive life and taking risks and pushing boundaries. That's the place you live. You live in that place where it's like, this could work, this could not. You will resist that if you don't ever settle this issue of your response to mistakes. Mistakes that we make in our adult life could vary, but our response to it is pretty similar no matter what degree it is. Do we beat ourselves up immediately? Do we go into shame? Do we move into catastrophizing? Oh my God, I'm a terrible person. This always happens. When we make mistakes as well, sometimes the response can be that we feel paralyzed. Like we don't want to talk to anybody. We don't want to make any more decisions. We just kind of want to tap out. We want to disconnect. We want to numb. Other people like to make excuses. And some of us like to shift the discomfort from ourselves when we make mistakes and onto others. That's called blaming. And I will add this piece in. This is something I'm dealing with myself, is that when other people make a mistake, like people I love, especially my kids and my husband, my response to their mistakes, it's a direct reflection of how little grace I have for myself and how little tolerance I have for myself when it comes to, making a mistake. And I realize that, and I'm owning that. And that's what this process is. This process is about us coming into awareness and the suffering that we go into, the degree of suffering that we go into when we make mistakes, especially in midlife, because it really dings our identity of who we see ourselves as. It dings our reputation to the world as capable people. Sitting with that, being honest about that, being curious about it and kind of taking it outside of our body if we could and examining it and being like, that's an interesting response that I just had. It's really, I was going to say humiliating, but not humiliating. That's not the word I was looking for. Humbling. To come face to face with our reactions and our inner monologue when we make mistakes. I use that if I lock my keys in the car or I forget my wallet at home, that I immediately go to thinking that I'm a terrible adult. I'm careless and I'm an idiot. And I'm like, why do we go there? It's because it's actually confirming the case that we've already made in our minds against ourselves. And so it provides us an opportunity to look at, how do we see ourselves before we make a mistake, in the time before mistakes ever enter the timeline? If you see yourself with nurturing and care, you're more likely to treat yourself with grace because you believe yourself worthy of receiving that, because you see yourself in your humanity. So as a practical step, what I'd like to introduce here is the idea of how we talk to ourselves every day. I can't remember which author it was. They said, wake up in the morning every day and look in the mirror and tell yourself, I love you 10 times. And it's a really kind of odd feeling when you start. And then when you just start to look at yourself in your eyes in the mirror and you just start saying to yourself, I love you. I love you. By the time you get to the 10th one, it feels a little different. Try that over the course of like a week or two and see if that doesn't change the way that you talk to yourself, the way that you view yourself. This is a lifelong thing that we have learned from our very early years. So it's not going to be as easy as like saying I love you 10 times, like a magic wand, to change the decades of trauma and negative self-talk. I just want to bring that up to our noticing and say very, very gently to ourselves, how do we talk to ourselves when we make a mistake? I'm just curious about that. I made a huge mistake the very last day of my last backpacking trip. I was coming off the trail. It was like 10 at night. We had just made it to the hotel, and I realized my phone fell out of my backpack and was in the Uber, and my stomach dropped. And I immediately went to like, I can't believe I'm such an idiot. Why did I put my phone in an open pocket? Why didn't I check the Bolt? It's called a Bolt, B-O-L-T. It's another type of Uber. Why didn't I check the Bolt before I left? I know better. Here's what happened.
So what happened?
My God. We immediately called the Bolt guy and the Uber driver, and he said like, I'll be there in an hour or two. And then we watched my phone drive out of the city.
So far.
And I was like, I can't watch this. This is giving me anxiety as my phone is like traveling. Like he's running away with my phone.
But then he started coming back.
Well, he's closer.
Yeah.
And so
he started coming towards the city.
Back towards the city. And so I just called him. I just got off the phone with him. And I was, so as you can see, first of all, I went to McDonald's to drown my sorrows. I got McFlurry. And I'm like, I can't believe I lost my phone. He said that I told him that I would pay for his gas and his time to bring me my phone. So he said, I just got off the phone with him again, and he said, okay, I'll come in 15 minutes and I'll call you. Guys, it's terrible to lose stuff. I hate that. Like, I don't know what's worse, like the thought of losing my phone and having to like do all the things to get a new phone and losing my pictures and all that, or just like being mad at myself for being like an idiot and letting the phone fly out of my bag onto the floor and not notice. I will come back on here when I have my phone in my hands and you're gonna see me like caressing my phone, but until then I will sit and I will drown my sorrows in a McFlurry. If you made it this far, my name is Samantha, and I work with women in midlife to connect them to their aliveness project, the thing they love doing, the thing that scares them and moves them out into their discomfort zones, and the thing that really like wakes them up to possibilities. And if they don't know what that is, I help them find it. And if they do know what that is, I help them lean into it and achieve it. And so I'm glad that you're here today. Thank you for spending some time with me on this video. And let's treat ourselves with so much love, but let's get used to making mistakes, because that is a key part to going after that thing that really makes you feel alive.
What are you filming there with?
I'm filming with my phone. Oh my gosh. He was so nice, thank God. He was so nice, and I have my phone back. And I can film. And I don't have to buy a new phone.
And he was
I do not recommend losing your phone. 1 star.